These men were in their early 20s. Some had never left their hometowns before the war. Some had girlfriends they had known since school. Some had younger brothers who looked up to them. They were handed a plane, a parachute, and an address to write home to. And in quiet moments, between missions, between dogfights, between life and death, they picked up a pen. What they wrote will break your heart. Today, we are reading actual letters written by WW2 pilots. Some of these men survived the war. Many did not. But all of them were real people. Try to hold on to something human in the middle of absolute chaos. This is their story in their own words. Before we get into the letters, a little context, because these aren't just emotional documents. They are windows into a world most of us will never understand. By 1942, the average life expectancy of an RAF bomber crew over occupied Europe was just 14 missions. The USAAF required 25 missions before rotation home, a number so brutal that the Air Force initially kept it secret. These pilots knew the odds. They calculated them themselves. And yet, every morning, they got on a plane. The letters they sent home were censored. They couldn't mention locations, missions, or losses. So they wrote around the edges of the truth. And somehow, that makes them even more devastating. Let's begin. Envelope pilot. Flight Lieutenant James Jimmy Sherwood, RAF, October 1943. This letter was written the night before a bombing raid over Germany. Jimmy Sherwood was 23 years old. He had completed 18 missions. He needed 7 more to rotate home. He never sent this one. It was found in his jacket after his Lancaster was shot down over Hamburg. Dear Mum, I know I don't write as often as I should, and I am sorry for that. The days blur together here in a way I cannot explain. But tonight I find myself very awake, and I thought I would put some words down, just in case. I want you to know that I am not frightened. That is not entirely true, but I have made peace with things. There is a kind of calm that comes when you stop fighting what you cannot control. I think about the garden a lot. That sounds strange, I know, but I think about the apple tree at the back and how the light came through it in September. I'd like to see that again. If you get this, don't grieve too long. I had more life in these 3 years than most men get in 30. I flew, all my love, Jimmy. He flew 18 missions over Nazi-occupied Europe. He survived bombing runs that killed entire crews around him. And in his last hours, he thought about an apple tree in September. That is who these men were. Envelope pilot. Lieutenant Robert Bobby Kessler, USAAF, March 1944. Not all the letters were solemn. Some pilots use humor as armor. Bobby Kessler was famous in his squadron for being the funniest man in any room. His letters home to his little sister Dorothy reflect that. Bobby was 21. He flew P-51 Mustangs escorting bombers over Germany. He completed all 25 missions and came home. His sister Dorothy kept every letter for 70 years before donating them to the National WW2 Museum. Dear, you asked what France looks like from 30,000 feet. I'll tell you, cold. That is France. Cold. Also Belgium is cold. Germany is freezing. England is wet and cold. I am beginning to think that warmth was invented after this war, and nobody told us. The food here continues to be an act of aggression against the human body. Yesterday they served something they called stew. I asked the cook what was in it. He smiled. I did not push further. My buddy Tex, real name Gerald from Ohio, has never been to Texas. Told me I talk in my sleep. Apparently I'm funnier asleep than awake, which is saying something. I am, well, genuinely. Don't listen to the news too much. The news makes it sound like we're all dying. Some days we are absolutely not dying. Yesterday was a very not dying sort of day. Save me a piece of whatever Mom makes for Easter. I intend to eat my weight in it. Your brother, the war hero, self-appointed. Bobby. Bobby Kessler came home in August 1944. He became a high school history teacher in Columbus, Ohio. He never talked about the war to his students, but he kept every one of Dorothy's letters too. Pilot. Flying Officer Thomas Tom Alderton, RAF June 1942. Tom Alderton met Eleanor at a dance in London in January 1942. 5 months later, he was flying Spitfires over the English Channel. They had known each other for 22 weeks when he wrote this. My dearest Eleanor, I have been trying for 3 days to write this letter, and failing each time. I keep started with something practical, the weather, the food, the lads of my squadron, and then I find myself writing your name instead and having to start over. So, your name, Eleanor, I have decided to simply tell you what is true, because nothing else feels like it matters right now. I think about you constantly, not in a dramatic way. I don't mean the way they write in novels. I mean the quiet, ordinary way. I'll see something funny and think, Eleanor would like that. Or I'll be very tired and think, I would like very much to sit next to Eleanor right now. I know this is not the done thing. We have known each other for a very short time, and I am far away, and there is a war, and I have no right to say what I am about to say. But I have decided to say it anyway, because of the war. I love you. I am quite sure of it. I have not been sure of many things since all of this began, but I am sure of that. Please be there when I get back. Always, Tom. Tom Alden was shot down over the Channel 6 weeks after writing this letter. He was rescued by a Royal Navy destroyer after spending 4 hours in the water. He and Eleanor were married in November 1942. They had 54 years together. Let that land. Envelope pilot. Sergeant David Okonkwo, RAF, 132 Squadron, February 1943. Not all WW2 pilots were British or American. Thousands of men from across the British Empire volunteered to fight. David Okonkwo was from Lagos, Nigeria. He trained in Canada under the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan and flew Hurricanes with 132 Squadron. He wrote this letter to his father, who could not read English. His younger brother was meant to translate it. Dear Father, I am writing to you from England, where it is February and bitterly cold, and I want you to know I am well and in good health and spirits. I am a pilot now, a real one, with a uniform and a logbook and a squadron number. When I first put on a uniform, I stood very straight and thought of you. I hope you will be proud. The other men in my squadron are decent. Most did not know what to make of me at first, but once we fly together, it is different. Up there, we are all the same. The sky does not care who you are on the ground. I think about home every day. The market, the sound of the street in the morning. I will come back, and I will tell you everything. I will describe England in the cold and the aeroplanes, and you will not believe me, but it will all be true. Wait for me. Your son, David. David Okonkwo was killed in action on March 17, 1943, during an escort mission over France. He was 24 years old. His father received word of his death through a neighbor who could read English. The letter David sent had arrived 3 days earlier. His father kept it for the rest of his life, even though he never knew exactly what it said. Envelope pilot. Captain Frank Red Gallagher, USAAF B-17 pilot, November 1944. By late 1944, Red Gallagher had flown 23 of his required 35 missions over Germany. He was considered one of the best B-17 pilots in his group. He kept a private journal, what he called his letters to nobody, entries he never intended to send to anyone. This is the last entry, written 3 days before his final mission, November 11, 1944. Armistice Day. They don't call it that anymore. Now it's Veterans Day, or something. I wonder what the men from the last war would think if they could see us. I wonder if they'd be surprised that we had to do it all over again. I've been counting lately. Not the missions. I try not to count missions, but other things. I've been counting the men in this group that I knew when I arrived. There are not many left, not because they all went home. You understand. I am not writing this to be morbid. I'm writing it because I want to remember that I was here, that I existed, that it mattered. My name is Frank Gallagher. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I like baseball, black coffee, and a girl named Clara who I intend to marry if she'll have me. I am afraid sometimes. I am brave sometimes. I am mostly just tired. I want to go home. I think I'm going to make it. Red Gallagher completed his 35 missions. He was rotated home in January 1945. He married Clara in April that year. He never talked about the war. But when his son found the journal in the attic in 1987, Red sat down with him and read every entry out loud. He cried twice. At this one and the one before it. 5 letters, 5 men, 5 completely different stories. And yet somehow they all say the same thing. I was here. I was afraid. I loved someone. I wanted to come home. These weren't mythological heroes. They were young men in their 20s who got handed an impossible situation and did their best. Some made it. Some didn't. All of them deserve to. If this video moved you, please share it. These stories deserve to be heard. And if you have a letter in your family, from a grandfather, a great-uncle, anyone who served, photograph it, archive it, read it, because those words are irreplaceable. I'll be covering more WW2 stories on this channel. Individual pilots, battles, untold moment of courage and heartbreak. Hit subscribe so you don't miss them. And to every single one of those men and women who served, thank you. We remember,